بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم إني أسألك برحمتك التي وسعت كل شيء، وبقوتك التي قهرت بها كل شيء، وخضع لها كل شيء، وذل لها كل شيء، وبجبروتك التي غلبت بها كل شيء، وبعزتك التي لا يقوم لها شيء، وبعظمتك التي ملأت كل شيء، وبسلطانك الذي على كل شيء، وبوجهك الباقي بعد فناء كل شيء، وبأسمائك التي ملأت أركان كل شيء، وبعلمك الذي أحاط بكل شيء، وبنور وجهك الذي أضاء له كل شيء. يا نور يا قدوس، يا أول الأولين، ويا آخر الآخرين. اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تهتك العصم، اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تنزل النقم، اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تغير النعم، اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تحبس الدعاء، اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تقطع الرجاء، اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تنزل البلاء. اللهم اغفر لي كل ذنب أذنبته، وكل خطيئة أخطأتها. اللهم إني أتقرب إليك بذكرك، واستشفع بك إلى نفسك، وأسألك بجودك أن تدنيني من قربك، وأن توزعني شكرك، وأن تلهمني ذكرك. اللهم إني أسألك سؤال خاضع متذلل خاشع، أن تسامحني وترحمني، وتجعلني بقسمك راضيا قانعا، وفي جميع الأحوال متواضعا. اللهم وأسألك سؤال من اشتدت فاقته، وأنزل بك عند الشدائد حاجته، وعظم فيما عندك رغبته. اللهم عظم سلطانك، وعلى مكانك، وخفي مكرك، وظهر أمرك، وغلب قهرك، وجرت قدرتك، ولا يمكن الفرار من حكومتك. اللهم لا أجد لذنوبي غافرا، ولا لقبائحي ساترا، ولا لشيء من عملي القبيح بالحسن مبدلا غيرك. لا إله إلا أنت، سبحانك وبحمدك. ظلمت نفسي، وتجرأت بجهلي، وسكنت إلي قديم ذكرك لي ومنك علي. اللهم مولاي، كم من قبيح سترته، وكم من فادح من البلاء أقلته، وكم من عثار وقيته، وكم من مكروه دفعته، وكم من ثناء جميل لست أهلا له نشرته. اللهم عظم بلائي، وأفرط بي سوء حالي، وقصرت بي أعمالي، وقعدت بي أغلالي، وحبسني عن نفعي بعد آمالي، وخدعتني الدنيا بغرورها ونفسي بجنايتها ومطالي. يا سيدي، فأسألك بعزتك ألا يحجب عنك دعائي سوء عملي وفعالي، ولا تفضحني بخفي ما اطلعت عليه من سري، ولا تعاجلني بالعقوبة على ما عملته في خلواتي من سوء فعلي وإساءتي ودوام تفريطي وجهالتي وكثرة شهواتي وغفلتي. وكن اللهم بعزتك لي في كل الأحوال رؤوفا، وعلي في جميع الأمور عطوفا. إلهي وربي، من لي غيرك أسأله كشف ضري والنظر في أمري. إلهي ومولاي، أجريت علي حكما اتبعت فيه هوى نفسي، ولم أحترس فيه من تزيين عدوي، فغرني بما هو وأسعده على ذلك القضاء، فتجاوزت بما جرى علي من ذلك بعض حدودك، وخالفت بعض أوامرك، فلك الحجة علي في جميع ذلك، ولا حجة لي فيما جرى علي فيه قضاؤك. وألزمني حكمك وبلاؤك، وقد أتيتك يا إلهي بعد تقصيري وإسرافي على نفسي، معتذرا نادما منكسرا مستقيلا مستغفرا منيبا مقرا مذعنا معترفا، لا أجد مفرا مما كان مني، ولا مفزعا أتوجه إليه في أمري غير قبولك عذري، وإدخالك إياي في سعة من رحمتك. اللهم فاقبل عذري، وارحم شدة ضري، وفكني من شد وثاقي. يا رب ارحم ضعف بدني ورقة جلدي ودقة عظمي، يا من بدأ خلقي وذكري وتربيتي وبري وتغذيتي. هبني لابتداء كرمك وسالف برك بي يا إلهي والسيد وربي. أتراك معذبي بنارك بعد توحيدك، وبعد من طوى عليه قلبي من معرفتك، ولهج به لساني من ذكرك، واعتقده ضميري من حبك، وبعد صدق اعترافي ودعائي خاضعا لربوبيتك. هيهات أنت أكرم من أن تضيع من ربيته، أو تبعد من أدنيته، أو تشرد من آويته، أو تسلم إلى البلاء من كفيته ورحمته. وليت شعري يا سيدي وإلهي ومولاي، أتسلط النار على وجوه خرت لعظمتك ساجدا، وعلى ألسن نطقت بتوحيدك الصادقة وبشكرك مادحة، وعلى قلوب اعترفت بإلهيتك محققة، وعلى ضمائر حوت من العلم بك حتى صارت خاشعة، وعلى جوارح سعت إلى أوطان تعبدك طائعة، وأشارت باستغفارك مذعنة. ما هكذا الظن بك، ولا أخبرنا بفضلك عنك يا كريم يا رب، وأنت تعلم ضعفي عن قليل من بلاء الدنيا وعقوباتها، وما يجري فيها من المكاره على أهلها، على أن ذلك بلاء ومكروه، قليل مكثوه، يسير بقاؤه، قصير مدته. فكيف احتمالي لبلاء الآخرة وجليل وقوع المكاره فيها، وهو بلاء تطول مدته ويدوم مقامه، ولا يخفف عن أهله، لأنه لا يكون إلا عن غضبك وانتقامك وسخطك، وهذا ما لا تقوم له السماوات والأرض. يا سيدي، فكيف بي وأنا عبدك الضعيف الذليل الحقير المسكين المستكين؟ يا إلهي وربي وسيدي ومولاي، لأي الأمور إليك أشكو، ولما منها أضج وأبكي، لأليم العذاب وشدته، أم لطول البلاء ومدته؟ فلئن صيرتني للعقوبات مع أعدائك، وجمعت بيني وبين أهل بلائك، وفرقت بيني وبين أحبائك وأوليائك، فهبني يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي وربي. صبرت على عذابك، فكيف أصبر على فراقك؟ وهبني صبرت على حر نارك، فكيف أصبر عن النظر إلى كرامتك؟ أم كيف أسكن في النار ورجائي عفوك؟ فبعزتك يا سيدي ومولاي أقسم صادقا، لئن تركتني ناطقا لأضجن إليك بين أهلها ضجيج الآملين، ولأصرخن إليك صراخ المستصرخين، ولأبكين عليك بكاء الفاقدين، ولأنادينك أين كنت يا ولي المؤمنين، يا غاية آمال العارفين، يا غياث المستغيثين، يا حبيب قلوب الصادقين، ويا إله العالمين. أفتراك سبحانك يا إلهي وبحمدك تسمع فيها صوت عبد مسلم سجن فيها بمخالفته، وذاق طعم عذابها بمعصيته، وحبس بين أطباقها بجرمه وجريرته، وهو يضج إليك ضجيج مؤمل لرحمتك، ويناديك بلسان أهل توحيدك، ويتوسل إليك بربوبيتك يا مولاي. فكيف يبقى في العذاب وهو يرجو ما سلف من حلمك؟ أم كيف تؤلمه النار وهو يأمل فضلك ورحمتك؟ أم كيف يحرقه لهيبها وأنت تسمع صوته وترى مكانه؟ أم كيف يشتمل عليه زفيرها وأنت تعلم ضعفه؟ أم كيف يتقلقل بين طباقها وأنت تعلم صدقه؟ أم كيف تزجره زبانيتها وهو يناديك يا ربه؟ أم كيف يرجو فضلك في عتقه منها فتتركه فيها؟ هيهات، ما ذلك الظن بك، ولا المعروف من فضلك، ولا مشبه لما عاملت به الموحدين من برك وإحسانك. فباليقين أقطع لولا ما حكمت به من تعذيب جاحديك، وقضيت به من إخلاد معانديك، لجعلت النار كلها بردا وسلاما، وما كان لأحد فيها مقرا ولا مقاما، لكنك تقدست أسماؤك أقسمت أن تملأها من الكافرين من الجنة والناس أجمعين، وأن تخلد فيها المعاندين. وأنت جل ثناؤك قلت مبتدأ وتطولت بالإنعام متكرما. أفمن كان مؤمنا كمن كان فاسقا لا يستوون. إلهي وسيدي، فأسألك بالقدرة التي قدرتها، وبالقضية التي حتمتها وحكمتها، وغلبت من عليه أجريتها، أن تهب لي في هذه الليلة وفي هذه الساعة كل جرم أجرمته، وكل ذنب أذنبته، وكل قبيح أسررته، وكل جهل عملته، كتمته أو أعلنته، أخفيته أو أظهرته، وكل سيئة أمرت بإثباتها الكرام الكاتبين الذين وكلتهم بحفظ ما يكون مني، وجعلتهم شهودا علي مع جوارحي، وكنت أنت الرقيب علي من ورائهم، والشاهد لما خفي عنهم، وبرحمتك أخفيته، وبفضلك سترته، وأن توفر حظي من كل خير تنزله، أو إحسان تفضله، أو بر تنشره، أو رزق تبسطه، أو ذنب تغفره، أو خطأ تستره. يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي ومالك رقي، يا من بيده ناصيتي، يا عليما بالضر ومسكنتي، يا خبيرا بفقري وفاقتي. يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، يا ربي أسألك بحقك وقدسك وأعظم صفاتك وأسمائك أن تجعل أوقاتي في الليل والنهار بذكرك معمورة، وبخدمتك موصولة، وأعمالي عندك مقبولة، حتى تكون أعمالي وأورادي كلها وردا واحدا، وحالي في خدمتك سرمدا. يا سيدي يا من عليه معولي، يا من إليه شكوت أحوالي، يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا ربي يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، فقو على خدمتك جوارحي، واشدد على العزيمة جوانحي، وهب لي الجد في خشيتك، والدوام في الاتصال بخدمتك، حتى أسرح إليك في ميادين السابقين، وأسرع إليك في المبادرين، وأشتاق إلى قربك في المشتاقين، وأدنو منك دنو المخلصين، وأخافك مخافة الموقنين، وأجتمع في جوارك مع المؤمنين. اللهم ومن أرادني بسوء فأرده، ومن كادني فكده، واجعلني من أحسن عبيدك نصيبا عندك، وأقربهم منزلة منك، وأخصهم زلفة لديك، فإنه لا ينال ذلك إلا بفضلك، وجد لي بجودك، واعطف علي بمجدك، واحفظني برحمتك، واجعل لساني بذكرك لهجا، وقلبي بحبك متيما، ومن علي بحسن إجابتك، وأقلني عثرتي، واغفر زلتي، فإنك قضيت على عبادك بعبادتك، وأمرتهم بدعائك، وضمنت لهم الإجابة. فإليك يا ربي نصبت وجهي، وإليك يا ربي مددت يدي، فبعزتك استجب لي دعائي، وبلغني مناي، ولا تقطع من فضلك رجائي، واكفني شر الجن والإنس من أعدائي. يا سريع الرضا اغفر لمن لا يملك إلا الدعاء، فإنك فعال لما تشاء. يا من اسمه دواء، وذكره شفاء، وطاعته غنى، ارحم من رأس ماله الرجاء، وسلاحه البكاء. يا سابغ النعم، يا دافع النقم، يا نور المستوحشين في الظلم، يا عالما لا يعلم، صل على محمد وآل محمد، وافعل بي ما أنت أهله. وصلى الله على رسوله والأئمة الميامين من آله، وسلم تسليما كثيرا. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Alhamdulillah, it's a blessing to be with each other for another Da'a Kumel, another Laylatul Jum'ah in person and not on Zoom. So may Allah bless you for your commitment, coming to the programs, and your families as well, both those living and deceased. And please remember each other, especially on these nights, and remember the Imam of our time, alayhi salam. Please everyone give a loud salawat and welcome to Seyed Abbas Razavian bi Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. That's the irony of becoming a teacher. I don't like speaking.
So I'm gonna lift this up with this water. Okay. A little bit higher. I'll do it again. Yeah, it's good. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم إلى قيام يوم الدين. My condolences for the martyrdom of Imam al-Hasan al-Askari, alayhi salam. Tonight is the night of his martyrdom, the night that we remember his martyrdom. And it is a tawfiq for us, because usually we plan on Thursday night programs, but usually it's not on the actual night of martyrdom itself or actual day of waladat. So tonight is both one of the best nights of the year, the night of Friday, and it is also the martyrdom of Imam Hasan Askari alayhi salam. For us, this martyrdom should be very special because it is the father of Imam Mahdi Ajjallahu Ta'ala Faraja. We were taught by Ahlul Bayt alayhimu salam to respect parents, and we are taught by them to visit the graves, to visit the shrines of Ahlul Bayt alayhimu salam. The shrine of Imam Hasan Askari alayhi salam in Samarra is the grave of the father of Imam Mahdi. It is the grave of the mother of Imam Mahdi Ajjallahu Ta'ala Faraj. So if you think about it, when you want to meet the Imam and you want to see him during his occultation, where do you go to see him? Where do you go to find him? One of the places attributed that Imam Zaman has a connection to is Samarra. And one of those reasons can be because of the hadith we have and because of the teachings of Ahlul Bayt to visit the parents' graves. So obviously Imam Zaman is visiting the grave of his father, visiting the grave of his mother. And therefore, when you go to Samarra, inshallah you do. And many people have, and inshallah happens all the time. When I went there a few months ago, I thought about this, that I'm sure this is one of the locations that is repetitively visited by Imam Zaman. And many people have worshipped, have gone to Samarra for this quest, to meet the Imam, to see the Imam, the sun behind the clouds. Even though our duty is more that the Imam is satisfied with us, the Imam approves of us, this is our number one duty. But when you talk about love and ishq and connecting to your Imam, well, obviously one of the things that every lover of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam has in his hearts is to meet their Imam and to see him, just like they meted the Imams, just like some of the students of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam would travel, or Imam Baqir alayhi salam would travel long distances in the middle of the night and to say, I just wanted to see you, I just wanted to meet with you. So we have this longing to meet Imam Zaman, and one of the places is Samarra, and one of the places that we should hold holy is Samarra. And I truly believe this. Imam Zaman, Sahib al-Asr wa Zaman, his father is Imam Hassan Askari alayhi salam. So when you do majlis for his father, do you think that Imam Zaman will not care at all about such a majlis? It is for his father. So I specifically, personally, have a lot of belief in the majlis for Imam Hassan Askari because it is his direct father. Yes, all the Imams are, grandfathers of Imam Zaman, but this is his direct father. So just like you see funerals, and when someone's father passes away, the first place that the son steps is usually in the front of the door to greet all the guests that has come for his father. So inshallah we see this inayat, this attention of Imam Zaman in this majlis. And hopefully your prayers are heard. Hopefully it is a night of worship for us. It is a night of ubudiyyat. This is why we have been created. And we are far from the shrine, so at least take these time periods very special, and especially tonight, and reflect, and inshallah we'll learn from the life of Imam Hassan Askari alayhi salam. And hopefully this will cause the attention and inayah of Imam Zaman, inshallah, for us. When you look at the life of Imam Hassan Askari alayhi salam, martyred at the age of 28, they say. 28 is nothing, especially when you live, I'm over 40 myself, you think 28 is absolutely very short. 6 years of imamat only, from 22 to 28. One of the shortest periods of imamat. And from the age of 1, they say he was in Samarra. Samarra is what? Is a military post, military camp. A place of watching, observation. A place where we see that Imams would say, don't point at us, you will be watched. They would not even tell the Shias to point towards the Imams. So in such a time period, Imam Hassan Askari alayhi salam is known to be, as we have in some of the hadith, he is the holder of treasuries of knowledge. Al-Khaza'in li-ilmi al-Hassan alayhi salam. We have in the hadith of Lawha Fatima alayhi salam. He is the holder of the treasures, the knowledge of Allah. So how is Imam Askari alayhi salam the holder of the treasure of Allah if he couldn't teach? At least publicly the way that Imam Sadiq, Imam Baqir alayhi salam taught. How is he a holder of the knowledge of God? One of the ways that Imam Hassan Askari spread his knowledge, because he was very confined, was with short and very direct messages that he gave to the people in terms of knowledge of the unseen. That he would inform them and let them know what would happen in the future so that they could make sure that he is the Imam. Because there's not enough time for a big debate like this, the time of Imam Rida alayhi salam. When you have multiple people coming, there's a lot of time, and the Imam would defeat his opponent through logical demonstrations and logical proofs. So the Imam would teach the people and would inform them and would do miracles, and the people at that time would see. And actually this is something so much so that you have books of history that some of the khulafa, like Mu'tamid Abbasi, mentioning "Ya'lam anna manzalata akhik talting Ja'far," that your brother, "Ya'lam anna manzalata akhik lam takun bina innama kanat billah azza wa jal." Know that the position of your brother is not like us, that we are elected, through not even by people, just by force or by dynasty, just because their father was the Khalifa, now the son is a Khalifa. Know that they are chosen. He is Hassan alayhi salam is chosen by God. And he mentions نحن كنا نجتهد في حط منزلته والوضع منه. We're trying to bring down the status of the Imam. We're trying to bring the status of your brother. So it's very amazing that the Khulafa we have in history, that they knew the knowledge of the Imams. They knew that their mansab and their position was from God, and they did mukhalafa and they did opposition. They knew because it is not a secret anymore, because this is the 11th Imam. They had experience from the other Imams and the knowledge of the Imams. So therefore, this is not a hidden fact for them. So therefore, they tried to shut down the light of Imam. But Imam Hassan Askari, with very short meetings that he had, he would teach, he would show people the unseen. For example, we have in some of the stories that we have, and some of the hadith that we have, you see, for example, that Qutb Rawandi Khara'ij brings 40 examples, Allama Majlisi brings 81 occurrences of these events that were miraculous, that the Imam is informing people, knowledge that there's no way they would know. For example, Muhammad ibn Hamza writes a letter to the Imam asking to pray for his financial situation. The Imam replies that soon you will receive 100,000 dirhams from inheritance. So he writes a letter, and the Imam through this letter informs him that there will be inheritance for him. That's one example. You know, Abu Hashim Ja'fari complains about his circumstances in prison. The Imam informs him that you'll perform the Dhuhr prayer in your house. This is in A'lam al-Wara. The other one was Kashf al-Ghumma. So he tells him, he says, the situation is hard. He says, soon you'll be praying Salat al-Dhuhr in your house. Or we have Ja'far ibn Muhammad Qananasi says to his brother whose wife was pregnant and asked the Imam to pray for his health of his wife. He responds to the letter that you will have twins and name them Muhammad and Abdul Rahman. So we have these occurrences over and over and over in books of history. For example, from Muhammad ibn Ayyash says that we were a few speaking about the extraordinary events from Imam Hassan Askari. A person that was in a Nasabi, had hated the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, writes a letter without using ink. So this person hated Ahlul Bayt. You say, oh, the miracles of Ahlul Bayt, you write letters. Let me write a letter to him without ink. And says, if he answers it, then there'll be no way that I will reject him. The letter comes back and the question is answered without, the question was without ink, the reply was answered with ink. So how is this true? How can we as followers of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, we have these traditions, as I said, they're numerous for Imam Hassan Askari. And this is the context. I mentioned to you the context, the way that Imam Hassan Askari salam lived was in a way of pressure. How can we understand knowledge of the unseen? How can we accept the fact that a human being can know something that others don't? For example, you ask me, wouldn't you be amazed? You say, for example, what did I have for dinner if you already ate dinner? And I informed you had donuts or something for dinner, let's say. You'd be, oh, mashallah, Seyed Abbas, how did you know I had donuts? For example. Or I know of the future. For example, I say, I know you're going to have cheese pizza for dinner, for example. Or, inshallah, I think that's what we're having, or pizza, right? So you say, mashallah, how did you know? So when someone informs you of what you're going to eat, or what's in your homes, I'll say, you have a lot of frozen donuts in your refrigerator freezer. You say, mashallah, how does Sayyid Abbas know? So you would be amazed. So when you look at the Quran, and you learn from the stories of Prophet Isa alayhi salam, and you see the verse of Quran 349, وَأُنَبِّئُكُمْ بِمَا تَأْكُلُونَ. Prophet Isa alayhi salam in the Quran, I will inform you of what you eat. وَمَا تَدَّخِرُونَ فِي بُيُوتِكُمْ. And I will inform you of what you have stored in your homes. 149 in the Quran, 349. So one of the best answers that if somebody asks us and objects, and na'udhu billah, says you as followers of Ahlul Bayt, you are Shia, you're saying that you believe in knowledge of the unseen of your Imams, you say, look, in the Quran, there are these examples. It is not as if we have placed this in one of the best examples of miracles in the Quran is Prophet Isa alayhi salam. Many different miracles. He was known for his miracles. Giving life to the dead, curing the sick. Look at these verses in the Quran. That his mother is informed about Isa alayhi salam before birth. This is knowledge of the unseen. That Lady Maryam in the Quran has knowledge of the unseen. Prophet Isa alayhi salam has knowledge of the unseen. How many of you have read the story of Prophet Musa and Prophet Khidr? What happens in this story, this meeting? Prophet Khidr, there's three things. One, he kills a child. Two, he sinks a boat. And three, he protects or develops or makes stronger a wall. Three things. And all he explains, his explanations are in the future. That this is why I did this. This is why I did this. And Prophet Musa wouldn't understand. And he mentions that I told you wouldn't understand. I knew that you wouldn't understand. He tells them the future. So you see, knowledge of the unseen is not something that is new for us. It has been in the Quran through so many verses and this beautiful story of Prophet Khidr and Prophet Musa. And actually, when you think of the story, you come to the conclusion that Prophet Khidr had permission to rule by the batin, by giving a judgment on the batin, because that child, for example, didn't commit any crime yet. He didn't do anything yet, but because of the batin, he did hukm. Some of the prophets, they have that permission, and that is what they're supposed to do. They give a ruling based on the batin. We can't do that, of course. We give rulings on the zahir or our judges or society, or if somebody sins or not. They have to apparently have witnesses, and we have to make sure it is done. But this is judging on the batin. Why? In this story, this is a side note, is that you're saying that sometimes there will be circumstances where a prophet, a successor of a prophet, will have knowledge that you don't have. And you don't understand what they are doing, but you're supposed to still follow. If you're going to question everything that holy figure, after you come to conclusive evidence that this is a prophet or this is an imam, there's absolute taslim, absolute submission now. Because the aql is saying he is an imam, the aql is saying he's a prophet, and there's absolute submission to what Khidr says, for example. Or else you become like the companions, some of the companions in the stories of the calamity of Thursday, where the prophet will say, bring me a pen and paper so I can write for you something during the last few days of his life, and you'll say, oh, he's saying something that's basically, doesn't make sense. You'll stop him. Right, because for you, either you unintentionally or you're not. You're saying, well, maybe it's the end of his life. He doesn't know what he's saying. You question the Prophet of Islam. You question the Imam. So when you read these stories, I truly believe this, that you come to using the Quran to come to Imamat, using the Quran to come and perfect your faith, to understand the realities of Imamat, understand the realities of the perfect human being through the Quran. That when they speak, and I'm going to give you more examples of knowledge of the unseen. But the example of Prophet Khidr, giving an instruction that's against the zahir. Why? Because he's a prophet of God. Of course, we only submit to someone that is infallible, that has that position, because if it's just a normal human being, he will make a mistake. We submit to someone that has that knowledge, that is, an imam or is a prophet. Let's recite salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa So the Quran leads us towards insan in common. The Quran teaches us submission of a person that is from God. The Quran teaches us that there are people that have knowledge of the unseen. When you first look at the Quran, there are many verses that are against knowledge of the unseen. That is, there's only ilmul ghaib is only for God. 659. وعنده مفاتح الغيب لا يعلمها إلا هو. With him are the treasures of the unseen. Nobody knows it except for who? Him, God. فقل إنما الغيب لله. Say, the knowledge of the unseen belongs only to God. إنما is used for exclusivity. Only God has knowledge of the unseen. So the issue is that when you take all these verses, and this is the same thing with many different theological debates or theological points that we learn from the Quran. You can't take one set of ayahs. You have to take both sides. You have to take them both to get a complete understanding. Okay, if this means illahu, then what type of knowledge is it that mankind doesn't have, that God only has? That is istiqlali knowledge. God's knowledge is by himself, is without any medium. The knowledge that the prophets and imams have is with the permission of God. So therefore, when we can understand these verses and say nobody has the real knowledge, meaning istiqlali and independent knowledge. Because in reality, God is knowledge, God is ilm. It is part of it, it is his thought, it is his essence. It's not something that he gains or becomes bigger and a'udhu billah or smaller. God knows everything. So therefore, too, it's complete knowledge. Man still, no matter how much he has knowledge, compared to God's knowledge, is insufficient. Even insan kamil. So God absolutely knows everything, but man doesn't know everything. One of the things that man does not know and cannot know is the true kun, or you can say the entirety, the real meaning of God at the end. Man cannot know about God, how God has knowledge of himself. So man's knowledge, even in insan kamil, is limited. Man's knowledge is through and with permission from God. It is with a medium, but God's knowledge is independent. God's knowledge is complete. And third, God's knowledge is immediate. But man's knowledge, in the Prophet's knowledge, the Imam's knowledge has to come. God's knowledge is always, absolutely there all the time. But we see that, an angel comes, informs, or something happens, an event happens. So the knowledge of God is a different, yes, that true ilmul ghaib and absolute ilmul ghaib belongs to nobody but God. He is that knowledge. He has access to Lawh al-Mahfuz, or we say he is, Lawh al-Mahfuz, the protected tablet, everything. But yes, with his permission, and in sources that is for a man as much as a man can know. Man has knowledge of the unseen, as we see in verses in the Quran and stories. For example, another example we have is Sarah, the wife of Prophet Ibrahim. And we see 1172. She said, "Oh my, shall I, an old woman, bear children, and while this husband of mine is an old man?" That is indeed an odd thing. She is informed that she will have a child. That is knowledge of the unseen. The best argument that can something happen or not is if it happened. If something happened, it is already shown that can it happen or not? Yes. Well, it happened for the wife of Prophet Ibrahim. We gave the example of Prophet Ibrahim's wife. We gave the example of Seyed Maryam alayhi salam, and also the mother of Musa alayhi salam. She is informed when she puts her child in the river, in the cradle, that soon, that it will eventually, he'll come back. That's information of the unseen. That's information of the future. So therefore, we look at these verses. We put them all together in these stories. In the story of Prophet Isa alayhi salam, and sometimes the wives of the prophets, sometimes the mothers of the prophets. And we come to the conclusion that knowledge of the unseen happens throughout the Quran for humans. And there's no doubt about these stories in the Quran, as I said, that will inform you of what you eat and what you have in your homes. So therefore, with this view, when you come to the knowledge of Imam Askari alayhi salam, you come with this knowledge that yes, it's very possible. Is every story exactly true? We don't know. Is every story, you have to look at the authenticity of that story, you have to look at what book it is, yes. But in general, collectively, yes, the Imams throughout history did inform people of miraculous things, and even the students of the Imams, they had some of the knowledges of the future. And something, for example, Imam Ali alayhi salam would teach to some of his students. And we have, therefore, like Habib ibn Madahir, for example, we have that he had Ilm al-Balaya, for example, certain science that he learned from Imam Ali alayhi salam, and he knew of exactly what would happen to him in Karbala. So when you look at the life of Imam Askari alayhi salam, you see that he does use this knowledge. One of the stories, now it might not be in the strongest of books, but it's, you know, I'm using this to get more acquainted with Imam Hasan Askari salam, is the story of Anwash, a Christian. Once comes to Imam Askari alayhi salam and has a sick child, and comes to him and asks him to come and make dua. There, he mentions this, that, you know, how much we, the Christians, you know, want the tabarruk, the dua of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, the Christians at that time. One of the reasons could be this, is that Christians, they, even though we were against the belief that Isa alayhi salam is God, na'udhu billah, but they believe in the karamat and the miracles of Jesus already. They already believe in the miracles, so they say it's possible. So therefore, there isn't this huge step to go and to say Imam Hasan Askari salam can perform miracles. So here Anwash in this story comes, and Imam Hasan Askari salam says something interesting. Says, Alhamdulillah alladhi ja'ala nasrani a'raf bihaqqina min al-muslimin. All praise is due to God that a Christian has more knowledge of our right than the Muslimin. The Christians are coming to seek the blessings of Imam Hasan Askari, but the Amma and the general public are not. So the Christians have more knowledge in this dua, that they are coming to get tabarruk. فَخَرَجَ إِلَيْهِ مَكْشُوفُ الرَّأْسِ حَافِيَ الْقَدِمَيْنِ. So when Imam Askari salam comes to the house of Anwash, he comes without shoes, comes, you know, makshufur ras, he doesn't have anything covering his head as a sign of humility. And there he meets the Imam and says, Ya Sayyidina, atawassal ilayka bihadha al-kitab alladhi anta a'raf bihi minna. He had the Injil and says, I swear by this Bible that you have more knowledge of it than us. Later on in the story, you find Anwash is a Shia, but he doesn't, profess his faith. She's a Christian that turned Shia, but he didn't want to have everyone know. So you can understand also from this too, he's already saying that you know this Injil more than we know. And that is a reality, because the Imams are warathul anbiya. They are the inheritors of the prophets. They actually, some items, physical items, garments or rings of the prophets or staff, they have the actual physical inheritors of the prophets, and they are inheritors of the knowledge of the prophets. They know, if you want to understand what Isa alayhi salam did and lived, you ask the Imams. If you want to see how Musa alayhi salam lived and said, you ask the Imams. So there he comes and he informs them. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajjal farajahu. He gives them this news. فَأَمَّا إِبْنُكَ هَذَا. First he tells them, فَبَاقٍ عَلَيْكَ. Your one son will remain. وَالْآخَرُ مَأْخُوذٌ مِنْكَ بِثَلَاثَ. And the other one will be taken in 3 days. So you brought me to make dua for you, but some things are qismat, some things are destiny. There's some things that even the Imams had children and that were either martyred, were killed, or the Imams went through the loss of a child. Some of them had. Imam Bagha alayhi salam, one of his children was sent to Kashan. They kept telling him, the Qashanis kept informing him, it has in history, and he kept saying no, kept saying no. They said, give us. See, a lot of times people are smart. The Qashanis were smart. They came to Imam Baqir alayhi salam and said, give us somebody. Sometimes people go to Qom and say, give us a scholar. They go to, for example, they went to Ayatollah Burujerdi, the Tehranis, and said, give us a scholar. They gave him Ayatollah Sayyid Ahmad Khansari. He gave him another manager taqleed for the bazaar. So the Qashanis were smart. They came to the Imam and said, give me somebody. Give me, and they asked specifically for the son. Give me one of our sons' belief. And he at the beginning said no. And actually that person that was going to go and ask, on the way he had a dream that he saw the Prophet of Islam, that person is going to be the son of the Imam, and he's going to be martyred, and he knew he was going to be martyred. But in this dream he said, go ask still. And they asked, and eventually the son of Imam Baqir alayhi salam, he mentioned in hadith that has that, he says, same thing that happened to Imam Hussein, you're going to do to my son. And what happened later on, or you're not going to do, it's going to happen. And later on, he was sent to the Kashan area, one of his sons, and they came, and him and about 70 followers, something like that, 70 followers, they were there, and the Khulafa at that time found out that he was teaching, and they executed him, killed him. So the Imam sometimes had loss, or maybe this was during the time of Imam Salih, but the Imams had loss of life, and they had children that they would lose. So here you see that Imam Hassan Askari alayhi salam tells them that one of your sons will remain. Hada al-Baqi, but let me tell you this in the hadith. This one that is going to remain, alayka yuslim al-Baqi alayk, yuslimu wa yahsunu islamu. He's going to become Muslim, and he's going to be a good Muslim. وَيَتَوَلَّانَا أَهْلَ الْبَيْتِ عَلَيْهِمْ السَّلَامُ, and he will become one of the followers of Ahlul Bayt. And you see the piety of An-Nawash here. It says that سَهُلَ عَلَى مَوْتِ إِبْنِي هَذَا لِمَا أَرَّفْتَنِي أَنَّ إِبْنِي هَذَا يُسْلِمْ وَيَتَوَالَى أَهْلَ الْبَيْتِ. I'm going to lose a son, but the fact that you said my other son is going to be a follower of Ahlul Bayt, it makes it easier for me to lose my other son. And later on they asked him, well then why you have so much love for Ahlul Bayt? Why don't you become a Shia? Why don't you become follower of Ahlul Bayt? And he says that I am, and my Imam knows what's in my heart. I already am. So you see in the life of Imam Hassan Askari salam, knowledge of the unseen is prevalent, used many times, and the theological debate about ilmul ghaib is solved by saying verses that are pro it, verses that are against it, can be together. You can have a jam, and that is what you do. You combine the verses together to say that prophets had knowledge of the unseen, imams and other non-prophets had knowledge of the unseen. Therefore, the imams having it is not adding anything to the Quran. It is in coherence with the Quran, that those that teach religion, those that are from God, those that have a certain position, they also need to have knowledge of different matters in order for their imamat and their prophethood in some cases to be successful. If you ask them something, they should not be able to say, I don't know the answer, what's going to happen, I don't know. Then people would say, orphan, they would say, that's a normal person. We're looking from someone from God, because you're supposed to explain to us knowledges that we don't have. So one of the ways that Imam Hassan Askari proved is through knowledge of the unseen. Let's dim the lights and talk about how Imam Askari alayhi salam was martyred. اللهم كل وليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمأتئه فيها طويلا. Imam Mahdi Ajallah Farajak. Throughout our days, we have busy days, busy weeks. Unfortunately, we forget you a lot. But forgive our forgetfulness. Allow us to connect to you. Allow us to see you. Allow us to become pure and tahir. Because if you want to see the tahirin, you have to be tahir yourself. You have to be pure yourself. Make us tahir so we can meet the tahirin. We can live with the tahirin and the pure and the immaculate in the hereafter. Live with them in the dunya and the akhirah, inshallah. It is said that the last moments of the life of Imam Askari alayhi salam in hadith, that the poison that they gave the Imam, he became very weak, even though he's 28 years old. That's, at the age that when someone should be very strong. He is very weak, so much so that he has a servant that was the servant of his father too. And, people like to have, during the last moments of their life, they like to have those that they love the most there. So he has Aqid there. Aqid gives him ma'an bimustaki or mustaka, gives him a drink that will help cure the Imam, that will help him. But the Imam is so weak, it says in this hadith, that when they come to give him, it says, تَرْتَعِدْ حَتَّى ضَرَبَ الْقَدَحَ ثَنَايَا الْحَسَنَ عَلَيْهِ السَّلَامِ. That when he comes to get this drink, he shakes and it hits his teeth. He can't, the Imam is so weak from the poison that they gave him, he can't even open his mouth to drink. It hits his teeth. So there he calls Imam Hassan alayhi salam, he calls his son Imam Mahdi. There's nobody more beloved for him than Imam Mahdi, the savior of humanity. He is going to make the world into heaven. And they call this 5-year-old child, he says he's going to be doing salat, he's going to be sujood, he's going to be worshiping. Bring him. When Imam Hassan Askari sees Imam Mahdi, there it says, Baka, he begins to cry. وَقَالَ يَا سَيِّدْ أَهْلِ بَيْتِي أَسْقَنِ الْمَاءِ. O chief of Ahlul Bayt, the Sayyid of Ahlul Bayt, give me some of this drink. فَأَنِّي ذَاهِبٌ إِلَىٰ رَبِّي. I'm leaving my Lord. How hard is it for Imam Mahdi at the age of 5 to come to give a drink to his father that cannot even open his mouth, to watch his father die, watch his father become martyred. وأخذ الصبي القدى المغلي بالمستقى بيده ثم حرك شفتيه. He shakes, he opens, he moves the lips of Imam Hassan Askari alayhi salam in a way that he finally allows him to drink from this drink. Then he mentions this, hayya'uni lis-salat. Imam Hassan Askari, what was the last things that he was concerned with? Salat. He doesn't have enough energy to even drink water by himself, but he says, prepare me for salat. This was the most important command of the prophets, the command of the imams, because this is the way we understand God is salat. hayya'uni lis-salat faturiha fi hujra. فَوَدَّعَهُ الصَّبِي وَاحِدًا وَاحِدًا. One by one, Imam Mahdi is giving wudu, helping with wudu to Imam Hassan Askari because he cannot perform wudu by himself. The children of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, the infallibles, when they were young, they saw a lot of dhulm. Imam Mahdi, I am sure on such a night he is remembering, because he was present 1200 years ago, that they martyred his father, that they poisoned his father. But also we have other children that witnessed the martyrdom, the slow martyrdom of their family members, slow martyrdom of their parents. And Imam Hassan wal Hussein wa Lady Zainab alayhi salam Kulthum, they saw the martyrdom, the death of their mother. They saw their homes being attacked after the 28th of Safar. Few times the house of Zahra alayhi salam was attacked. And Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein, in the same way, would see Az-Zahra, their mother, slowly and slowly, day by day, become weaker, day in day, not being able to do things that she was able to do before. Finally, they gave them the news that their mother has passed away and become martyred. That is one, they say, Imam Ali alayhi salam, nothing caused Imam Ali to fall. Badr did not cause him to fall. Uhud did not cause him to fall. Khandaq did not. But they say this is when the knees of Ali ibn Abi Talib trembled when they came to inform him that his wife is martyred, that he fell on the ground. Sallallahu alayka ya Imam Hassan al-Askari alayhi salam, alayka salam, sallallahu alayka ya Abbas Salih al-Mahdi, ajjallahu ta'ala farajak. Ya Allah, we ask you, it is the night of Friday. It's the night of the marhumeen, those that have passed away from our communities, our friends. Throughout the world, all the good people in the world, inshallah, Allah forgive them. Allah, inshallah, bless them and shower them with the blessings of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. Ya Allah, we have many sins. This is the night of Friday, the night of forgiveness. Allow us cure our sins so that we can be part of the pure, part of the tahireen, inshallah, so that we can meet the Imam of the age. Ya Allah, make the Imam of the age satisfied with us. Allow us to think about, to remember things to do that will make Imam Mahdi happy, inshallah, with us. Ya Allah, take away from us, separate things from us in our lives that upset the Imam, that when he sees our lives, that he would not become upset with us. Ya Allah, expedite the return of our Imam, inshallah, and make us of his soldiers and followers, inshallah. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Assalamu alaikum. We're going to end with reciting Ziyarat Warith, inshallah. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdillah. Assalamu alayka ya ibn Rasulillah. Assalamu alayka wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alayka ya waritha Adam safwatillah. Assalamu alayka ya waritha Nuh nabiyillah. السلام عليك يا وارث إبراهيم خليل الله. السلام عليك يا وارث موسى كليم الله. السلام عليك يا وارث عيسى روح الله. السلام عليك يا وارث محمد حبيب الله. السلام عليك يا وارث علي أمير المؤمنين ولي الله. السلام عليك يا ابن محمد المصطفى. السلام عليك يا ابن علي المرتضى. السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة الزهراء. السلام عليك يا ابن خديجة الكبرى. السلام عليك يا ثار الله وابن ثاره والوتر الموتور. أشهد أنك قد أقمت الصلاة وآتيت الزكاة وأمرت بالمعروف ونهيت عن المنكر وأطعت الله ورسوله حتى أتاك اليقين. فلعن الله أمة قتلتك ولعن الله أمة ظلمتك ولعن الله أمة سمعت بذلك فرضيت به. يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله، أشهد أنك كنت نورا في الأصلاب الشامخة والأرحام المطهرة، لم تنجسك الجاهلية بأنجاسها ولم تلبسك من مدلهمات ثيابها. وأشهد أنك من دعائم الدين وأركان المؤمنين. وأشهد أنك الإمام البر التقي الرضي الزكي الهادي المهدي. وأشهد أن الأئمة من ولدك كلمة التقوى وأعلام الهدى والعروة الوثقى والحجة على أهل الدنيا. وأشهد الله وملائكته وأنبياءه ورسله أني بكم مؤمن وبإيابكم موقن بشرائع ديني وخواتيم عمله، وقلبي لقلبكم سلم وأمري لأمركم متبع. صلوات الله عليكم وعلى أرواحكم وعلى أجسادكم وعلى أجسامكم وعلى شاهدكم وعلى غائبكم وعلى ظاهركم وعلى باطنكم، بأبي أنت وأمي يا ابن رسول الله، بأبي أنت وأمي يا أبا عبد الله. لقد عظمت الرزية وجلت المصيبة بك علينا وعلى جميع أهل السماوات والأرض، فلعن الله أمة أسرجت وألجمت وتهيأت لقتالك يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله. قصدت زيارتك أسأل الله بالشأن الذي لك عنده وبالمحل الذي لك لديه أن يصلي على محمد وآل محمد، وأن يجعلنا معكم في الدنيا والآخرة. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. For the health and well-being of our dear beloved Seyed Abbas Razavian, please give us salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, as well as